8 years of the free lunch is over.
The Trump as Putin puppet storyline is officially dead.
North Korea is intensifying tensions, teasing a big and important event planned for today. Dictator Kim Jong-un vowing to flex his nuclear muscles.
Well, the man is accused of shooting Agent Brian Terry, exposing Operation Fast and Furious, is finally under arrest.
I feel more comfortable now that Trump's in office, and I think
From New Jersey.
He has from the east, I have from the west.
That's right. Y'all are probably eating breakfast as you're coming into work. And we are drinking orange juice, I hope. Yes. Right. Pete Hegseth is having breakfast with friends in Scranton, Pennsylvania this morning, flipping some pancakes.
That's right. That's right. We're at the Keystone Restaurant here in West Scranton, so come on out. The doors just opened 6 o'clock. We're talking to voters here. Of course, Pennsylvania key to President Trump's victory, although this is a Democratic stronghold here that almost went for him. We're not going to be talking to pundits. We're going to be talking to the people about politics. What is their pulse of what's going on? Of course, even the local paper today talking about Russia. We know the people are far more concerned than conspiracy theories about Russian collusion. How is President Trump doing? What's the future look like? And, of course, we've got something called the Invader Challenge here that you have to eat in 20 minutes, which I plan to complete live on the air here on Fox and Friends. So stick around for that.
Pete, I've got a question for you. I see they've got the home fries piled up in the corner back there. Do they make home fries first thing in the morning and just keep a pile of them back there all day long? Is that why they're so delicious and crispy?
All day long. I watched them throw them in the corner here. There's garlic butter on top of them, and they just slowly flip them all morning. It's fantastic.
Delicious.
All right, well, now they have one more worker in the kitchen. You can help with the prep work this morning.
Yeah,
Pete.
where's your hairnet? Get on it.
I'm ready to go. My application's already in.
All right. Pete Hegseth in the Keystone State at the Keystone Diner. We'll be checking in with him a little later.
Did he just say he's looking for a new job?
I'm not really sure.
Applications in?
I just think so. He's able to use his military background to explain how they keep home fries fresh throughout the morning. It's fantastic.
True. Keeping those home fries safe over there in the corner.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this international story. Journalists were called to a particular neighborhood in North Korea earlier today at the behest of that man. That's Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. It had been presumed, because they had said there's going to be a big, important event, that there could actually be an atomic bomb test today. As it turns out, he unveiled a new housing project he's very proud of. It looks like, according to the think tanks that study this kind of thing, he's going to ignite and test his sixth nuclear weapon, probably on Saturday, which is Day of the Sun in North Korea.
Which is their most important national holiday. He says if he does this, the device will be in a tunnel at their nuclear testing site. And his regime is warning national journalists to be prepared for, quote, a big event.
You know that the President of the United States turned around a naval strike force a few days ago when he realized what's going on in North Korea, and he wanted to send a message that, you know what, we're not going to sit by and allow you to become a nuclear nation or to continue on your path to build a missile that's going to be able to hit a major American city. And amongst the people that are helping us, it seems to be China. We've heard this before. However, the initial relationship between our president, and their leader has led everybody to believe that there might be some progress between the number one parent nation of North Korea with the most influence. Amongst the people who are impressed so far with what Donald Trump is doing in the region is Michael Meehan, a Democratic strategist who worked with John Kerry.
I actually give the president credit for this. The Korean Peninsula is such a complicated situation, and the Chinese have an outsized ability to help affect that outcome. You know, the North Korean leader's birthday is on this weekend. They like to have a show of force. I think this is the fact that he's able to use his deal-making skills to put this kind of pressure, both economic and military, around North Korea. I think is actually he should get some credit for this.
Absolutely. There's an exclusive interview in the Wall Street Journal. It's their lead item right now. They had a 70-minute interview with the President of the United States yesterday, and President Trump offered China better trade terms in exchange for help with North Korea. Last week, he had told the Chinese president, he said he would not accept a continued large trade deficit with China. We know that. He campaigned on that. But he said, and this is a quote, "But if you want to make a great deal, solve the problem in North Korea, that's worth having deficits, and that's worth having not as good a trade deal as I normally would be able to make." So clearly, he is dangling a great big carrot in front of China. You help me with North Korea, and I'm going to help you with trade.
It's so interesting because you have to remind all these countries that you are the superpower, that America is not going to sit back and watch nuclear strikes or sarin gas being dropped on babies. But you do have to have these diplomatic relationships with these other countries. You can see that. That's why Rex Tillerson went to Russia, because he's trying to get Russia to work with Syria since they're allies. Now he's trying to work with China to help with North Korea because that China is their only ally.
And right now, yeah, there's a SEAL team training in South Korea right now, and the word is, according to local South Korean newspapers, that there's a sense that there might be a SEAL Team 6 operation to assassinate him like they did bin Laden. And there's also a report a couple of days ago that Kim Jong-un is in hiding because he is afraid, and they are beginning to vacate the capital because they expect an imminent American attack. And as Charles Krauthammer speculated last night, he said it's not bad really to have to have a reputation of being somewhat unpredictable 4 days after you hit 59 tomahawks into a country that you basically, as a nation, avoided for the last 4 years. So Kim Jong-un is saying, wait a second, could this leader, this businessman, who we know very little about, could he be the one to actually stop my progress?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because now the rest of the world is paying attention. If they did that, if President Trump did that in Syria, he could do that here. And that's why China's premier moved 150,000 troops to the border with North Korea, just in case North Koreans, or they just try to go over into their country, those refugees, to try escape a strike from America.
So it's all about the money. So now it looks like we've got a partner. It sounds like we've got a partner in China trying to do something. But remember, you got, as John McCain referred to the guy who runs North Korea, you got a crazy fat kid in charge over there. So stay tuned.
Who's done nothing to earn that position as leader. Meanwhile, when you talk about Russia, you have two places if you want to find out the latest between the U.S. and Russian relations. You have the Rose Garden, or excuse me, the White House yesterday, where the NATO General Secretary was having a press conference after meeting behind closed doors with our president. And then you have our Secretary of State meeting with his counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, in Russia, and then a somewhat surprising 2.5-hour closed-door meeting with Vladimir Putin. Did we make any progress? Not really.
Well, the only thing we agreed on is, yep, we're going to both fight ISIS. Otherwise, it looks like Lavrov says Russia's not sure that Assad carry out the chemical attacks. Rex Tillerson said it was pretty well established that Russia interfered in the U.S. election. Back and forth. It was kind of a ping and a pong thing. At the end of the day, though, the president said, you know what, we got trouble with Russia.
Right now, we're not getting along with Russia at all. We may be at an all-time low in terms of relationship with Russia. This is built for a long period of time. But we're going to see what happens. I'll also see about Putin over a period of time. It'd be a fantastic thing if we got along with Putin and if we got along with Russia. And that could happen, and it may not happen. It may be just the opposite.
I love the way that Rex Tillerson, who I knew very little about, I love the way he just sat there, stared straight ahead, like he's been doing this for 25 years. He just sat there and said, listen, we're not getting along. I'm not going to pretend like we are. And then he went behind closed doors with a guy he actually knows in Vladimir Putin, never in this position before. They didn't get the picture that many people thought would have been nice. I personally couldn't care less. And I also think that Lavrov's response when asked about did you interfere in American elections is fascinating. He doesn't say we didn't. He says, where's your proof? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, wait a second. I didn't steal your stuff.
We didn't unless we're caught. Yeah. You have proof? I love the handshake, too. It was so icy cold. Remember when Hillary Clinton did that and handed the reset button? They were laughing and trying to joke around.
Yeah,
this was totally different.
I think people are getting a good look at Rex Tillerson. Keep in mind, he was a businessman running Exxon and other things for a very long time. That's just the demeanor that you have in that big executive suite. He did it very effectively. And I guess ultimately, at the end of the day, what we learned yesterday is maybe Trump is not Putin's puppet, as we have been told by the mainstream media for the last year.
Democrats are saying he's overcompensating because he has that label. Really? You just can't win. Jonah Goldberg, among the people last night, has said, listen, I think that narrative is just about done. We'll see where we go from here, because if there's another chemical hit, basically on all counts, we're going to hit him again. If they do the barrel bombs, we're not batting to a corner. But if they do the chemical hit, I'm sure we're going to do the same thing.
Well, that message has been put out there. It's his move, Mr. Assad.
All right, let's hand it over to Jackie Ibanez, who has some headlines for us. Hey, Jackie. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, friends, and good morning to everyone waking up at home. The cartel member suspected of murdering a border agent, exposing Operation Fast and Furious, is finally under arrest this morning. This man right here, caught in Mexico, is accused of shooting Agent Brian Terry on the U.S. southern border 6 years ago. Terry's death helped reveal Operation Fast and Furious, an ATF program that allowed criminals to buy guns in the U.S. with the intention of tracking them in Mexico. They lost track of nearly 2,000 guns, 2 of them found at Terry's murder scene. Authorities uncovering that is terror right on American soil. The feds arresting 2 men accused of working for ISIS, even wanting to raise an ISIS flag on top of the White House. The FBI says Joseph Jones and Edward Chimenti, both from Illinois, pledged their allegiance to the terror group online. The 2 handing over cell phones, telling agents they planned on using them to set off bombs overseas. And is the White House chief strategist Steve Bannon on his way out? That's what the Washington Post and New York Times are both now reporting. President Trump downplaying Bannon's role in a series of new interviews, calling him, quote, a guy who works for me. Bannon recently removed from his National Security Council post. His close relationship with the president bruised by clashes with others in the administration, including Ivanka Trump, his daughter, and Jared Kushner. Well, Hillary Clinton is coming out of the woods and recycling the same messages that helped her lose the election.
Now, I'm hoping, too, that the Congress will come to its senses and will understand we don't need to be building walls, we need to be building bridges.
All right, well, this time she's preaching free college. That's right, for everyone at LaGuardia Community College in New York. The defeated presidential nominee celebrating the first program in the nation offering free tuition funded by you, the taxpayer at home.
But you got to stay in New York for 4 years if we fund it.
That's right.
Yep. Doesn't that sound awesome?
That.
You should read the fine print.
Right. Okay.
Right. Jackie,
Thanks,
thank
Jackie.
you. Meanwhile, a Republican district stays red in the first election since President Trump took office. So is this just a taste of what's to come in 2018? We're going to talk to brand new Congressman-elect Ron Estes, congressional seat in the House of Representatives with the victory of Ron Estes. It was a special election that got extra attention and the support of President Trump. So what does this mean for the midterms? Let's talk to the winner himself. Joining us right now is Congressman-elect Ron Estes, joining us from Wichita. Ron, congratulations.
Well, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning.
It's great to have you. Okay, so you ran for the open seat that had been held by Mike Pompeo there in the Wichita area. He, of course, now our director at the CIA. How did you wind up winning?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we talked with voters in the district about some of the issues that are going on in Washington. People are really eager to make sure that we do things like repeal and replace Obamacare and reform the tax code and support free and fair trade. And that's the message that we talked about. And people really want support, and they want a Republican in the House to help do that, work with President Trump.
Well, I tell you what, there have been a lot of pundits, I'm sure you've heard them in the last number of hours, where they go, you know, the guy only won by 7 points. Mike Pompeo won that seat last time by 31 points. It looks like maybe the popularity of Donald Trump's party is not that great in a very red state of Kansas.
Well, I don't know that you can necessarily compare the two elections. A November election where a president's on the ballot is much different than a special election where the turnout is very much lower. One of the things that we saw in a special election is that you'll see Republicans and Democrats vote in a slightly higher percentage than independents. So it's not necessarily a broad cross-section of the district. What you want to do is make sure you get the folks out to vote that are as many as possible. And that's really where we put our effort on, was getting turnout.
You're actually the object of one of the lead editorials this morning in the Wall Street Journal that says a warning in Wichita. And it says the real lesson of your election is that the Republicans need to unite to demonstrate a record of accomplishment going into 2018. If they can't bridge their differences, they're in trouble. If Republican voters see little to show for the Republican majority, they may not turn out. So in other words, you know, we saw what the Republicans did with health care a couple of weeks ago. They couldn't get their act together. So people are thinking, well, why do we need a Republican House?
Well, I think there's a lot of popularity still in the district for the president and real supportive of him. But people did elect us to get things done, and they want to see us working to accomplish things, particularly with Republican majorities and the White House in Republican hands. So we want to make sure that we work together, and that's one of the things that I'm focused on once we get there.
Terrific. What's your #1 priority when you get to D.C.?
Well, I think overall, I want to make sure that we get a balanced budget. I mean, ultimately, we just can't keep doubling our national debt every 8 years. We've got to get that under control and not spend more than we bring in.
Well, you're not the only one who would love to see that happen. All right, Ron Estes, brand new congressman from the 4th District of Kansas. Ron, thank you very much for joining us today from Wichita.
Thank you.
All right, good luck. All right, and meanwhile, reading, writing, and sympathizing with suicide bombers, the new lesson that might be offered to your children courtesy of the U.S. taxpayer.
Accused of nearly massacring one of Europe's top soccer teams is a member of ISIS. Authorities say the terrorists set off explosions in Germany. One on a bus packed with players, hurting a defender and a cop, both expected to be okay. And police now ramping up security at stadiums this Easter weekend. And terrifying video of a toddler falling between a platform and a train moments before it leaves. His grandparents frantically waving to the train's conductor. This happened in Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Thankfully, the grandfather pulls him back up. The little boy is okay.
That's why they always say, mind the gap. It's quite a step.
That is so scary. You know, even getting on an elevator with your child, always try to pick her up. I just think,
There's a lot you got to do. All right. Meanwhile, Pete Hegseth is joining us today in the wildly successful Breakfast with Friends series. Today, he's at the Keystone Diner in Scranton, Pennsylvania, home of the TV show The Office.
Yes.
That is very true, the home of that, as well as home of the Keystone Restaurant here, which is a great one. It's already filling up, so come on out to the Keystone Restaurant here in West Scranton. I'm here with Mike and Jenny, a couple here. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Certainly glad to be here.
And Mike, what do you do for a living?
I am in the restaurant business as well. I have a restaurant about 7 or 8 miles away from this facility. So
next time we come to Scranton, we're coming to your restaurant.
That'd be okay.
Deal. And his lovely wife Jenny is here too. She's a teacher as well. We've been chatting here about kind of the state of the country. First of all, you're a small business owner.
That's correct.
What affects your business the most, and policies that you'd like to see changed?
Well, I think one of the big concerns we have is minimum wages on the table here in Pennsylvania. Raising the minimum wage in Pennsylvania. That's a concern of ours because most of our employees are entry-level employees, so most of them are minimum wage. So that's a big concern because it will take a big chunk out of the revenues that we produce.
And then you said you employ between 40 and 50 people, 50 people being the threshold to provide health insurance under Obamacare. Has that affected your decision-making at all?
Very little. We usually don't quite get that high. It's business stays pretty consistent all year round, so we kind of like to stay on an even keel, but sometimes you need more employees than other times this season, but they're always coming and going at entry level. That's part of the problem as well.
Consideration.
That's correct.
Overall, how do you, there's a lot of talk about Russia and Russian collusion. As you watch this and follow this, do you see any evidence of that?
I don't see any direct evidence, but we probably know very little of what's actually going on from what we read and what we hear on different media outlets. So I certainly have a concern about it because it seems to be a lot more on the table than it ever's been. So there's probably more going on than we might think.
Well, they're certainly talking about it. The Times Tribune this morning still talking about U.S.-Russia relations as well. I'm going to go talk to our good friend Jack over here. Thank you both very much. Jack, how are we doing?
Not too bad.
Good morning. Can I sit down with you? So you're eating breakfast. What do you do, Jack?
I'm almost retired.
Almost retired?
Yeah.
And did you support President Trump?
Oh, yeah.
In the election? What do you think of how he's doing so far?
I think he's doing all right.
What do you make of all the obstacles that are being thrown in his way?
You don't really want me to say that, do you? What? You don't really want me to tell you what I think, do you?
Well, as long as it's made for TV, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this...
You're not pleased, I take it.
No, not at all.
Why do people dislike him so much and come after him so much?
Because things aren't working the way they want it. They want their little... their little world, and
they want the swamp.
Yeah, and it's not going to. It's just not something that shouldn't be like that.
Sure.
I was just telling your young lady friend that when I was in the military, the people I wanted to vote for back in the '60s, they wouldn't even be nominated today.
Sure.
That's how far left they've gone with it. And it just.
What's the big? Thank you for your service, by the way. What's the biggest thing you'd like to see President Trump accomplish?
Probably get the economy up and get the wall built.
The economy up and the wall built. So see, as the media obsesses about Russian collusion and who's working with who, the economy running, the wall built, the things that the president ran on. So here in West Scranton at the Keystone Restaurant, we're going to keep talking to diners. As you can see, top of mind. Things like Obamacare, like jobs, like the wall are still what voters care about, and we're going to keep talking about it all morning. Thanks. Back to you guys.
Pete, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Getting good vibes down there in that diner.
I love the honesty. I just love people. There is unfiltered honesty. You ask people, and they just tell you exactly what they think.
But I tell you what, bad news about that wall. I mean, it seems that Paul Ryan doesn't want to fund the wall this year. Chuck Schumer doesn't want to fund the wall this year. On? It's unbelievable. I mean, and they even have the design. General Kelly is all set to go with it. They know where they're starting in San Diego.
Do they have a date lined up? Because they still have to make sure the government doesn't shut down. They have to deal with Obamacare. They have to deal with tax reform.
This will be part of the funding they need. They need funding for that wall to continue to fund the government.
Well, like that last guy Pete was talking to who served in the military. The swamp doesn't like Trump. And so, they're going to put up a fight.
All right,
They're going to put up a wall between themselves and Trump.
Right.
No kidding.
That'll be allowed. 31 minutes to the top of the hour, 29 minutes after the hour. You play it at home the way you want it. A Democratic mayor declares his city a sanctuary for illegal immigrants, then finds out nobody wants the city to be a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants. Up next, he will try to explain why he did nothing wrong.
I want to hear that. And the FBI obtained in the elevator. I don't know that video inside the elevator was real. It could have been.
Yeah, I thought it was strange. I watched his whole monologue. It was fantastic last night. He's the only late night show not repeating. Right.
Not repeating what?
Everybody's going to repeat.
I
so
see.
he was the only one with a brand new live show.
Oh, live show.
See, that's the beauty of a news channel, because generally we're live.
Right, generally.
Right now, we're live.
Yeah, really? We're not on tape? Because I feel old.
What's tape?
All right, I have no idea.
You're so analog.
You're right.
All right,
that's my label.
We got something special with Michael Tamara in a minute, but right now Jackie Ibanez is joining us on this Thursday with the news and the very latest of that guy getting dragged down the aisle of that plane.
Isn't that crazy? Well, yes, we're definitely live. Pinch yourself, this is happening. The passenger dragged off the United Airlines flight seen in this horrifying video, now taking legal action. Not too surprised about this. Dr. David Dow's daughter and lawyers expected to hold a press conference in just a few hours in Chicago. His attorneys filing a petition to preserve all evidence from the plane. All three officers involved here now on paid administrative leave this morning. And top Republicans are asking the DOJ to take a fresh look at evidence against Lois Lerner, the former IRS employee accused in 2013 of targeting Tea Party groups over their political views. Lerner called to testify to Congress, but pleaded the Fifth.
Have not done anything wrong. I have not broken any laws. One of the basic functions of the Fifth Amendment is to protect innocent individuals, and that is the protection I'm invoking today.
In 2015, President Obama's DOJ refusing to file criminal charges. Then, Lerner resigned. After proudly announcing its sanctuary status just weeks ago, Lansing, Michigan is now backtracking. Mayor Vernero's appearance on Tucker Carlson tonight sparking backlash within his own community over his defiance of federal law. But last night, the Lansing County City Council voting to drop the title, and Mayor Vernero rejoined Tucker with a change of heart. Listen to what he had to say.
Seems like your city council didn't agree. Why didn't they see the brilliance of your plan?
Oh, no, come on now, Tucker. I said nothing like that. But I must say, I heard from a lot of your fans after I came on, and you do have a great fan base. I think it's wonderful. Look, what we're seeing is democracy in action, Tucker, and this discussion is part of it. I think we should have more conversations where we shed light and not heat.
It was a great interview. 29 states currently having pending legislation that would prohibit sanctuary cities. An outrage this morning over a taxpayer-funded high school lesson plan that appears to sympathize with radical Islamic terrorists. Listen to this. It's called Dying to be a Martyr and is offered by the Public Broadcast Service and teaches kids about homicide bombers. Under the lesson plan, students watch interviews of Islamic terrorists and about the struggle between Israel and Palestine without any instructions to denounce the extremists. And those are your headlines. Back to you guys on the Kirby Couch.
That is an unbelievable story, how Tucker Carlson changed somebody's mind. Why did we leave it that? That's
very entertaining.
Right.
Always. Thank you so much, Jackie. On 24 Legacy, the clock has been ticking all season long. If you've been watching, you know what I'm talking about. Now it comes down to the final hour.
Some might consider what I did an act of courage.
Courage.
Something you could have used a little bit more of.
Yep, this season's finale is coming up, and time is running out. Get the idea? We have to go quickly to the Senior Vice President of Marketing, Michael Tamara.
Danger veterans are facing at the VA facility in D.C. The chief watchdog's investigation finding staff running out of tubes for dialysis and using expired equipment. Authorities say action is coming, and a college professor posting a disgusting tweet saying President Trump must hang, now under investigation. Lars Maychik teaches at Fresno State University. The violent rant also said 2 Republicans should be executed for ever deported illegal alien. His Twitter account has now been deleted.
That is too late story. Meanwhile, the FBI reportedly obtained a secret court order last summer to monitor the communications of an advisor to then presidential candidate Donald Trump. And Carter Page, that's the guy's name, responded to Fox News last night.
To get a surveillance warrant, the FBI has to have solid evidence. So how do you explain it?
Well, we shall see. Again, there was a tremendous amount of false evidence, and there was various reporting about where that false evidence may have come from, such as the dodgy dossier, which we've discussed previously. So we shall see how that all plays out.
So why were they spying on a U.S. citizen in the first place? Why did they go out to get a FISA warrant? Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Napolitano has been looking at this whole thing, the revelation, the report, and the fact that what if it was in fact true. First off, do you think does this sound true to you?
I'm skeptical of it for a couple of reasons. If it is true or partially true, President Trump is confronted yet again, third or fourth time in his presidency, with intelligence leaks intended to embarrass, humiliate, or manipulate him. If this is true, because Carter Page worked in Trump Tower during the campaign and the transition, then we know that the FBI was listening to conversations involving candidate Trump and President-elect Trump. Here's one of the reasons I'm skeptical, and the public needs to know this. The FISA court does not issue warrants for individuals. They wouldn't say, we need a warrant, I'm just using you as an example, for Brian Kilmeade. They will say, we need a warrant for everybody at 1211 6th Avenue, because we think there are conversations going on in there. We don't know who and we don't know what they're saying that has something to do with national security. That's a very, very low threshold. It's not you may be the target, but it's not a finding of anything that you did anything wrong. It's just an authorization for them to store.
Authorize something that broad, though?
Listen, Brian, that's the way the intelligence community works. They don't want to reveal who they're looking for. If they're looking for Carter Page, they're not going to tell anybody that they're looking for him, not even the court. They're just going to put him in a group. One of the FISA warrants that I saw, we all saw it because it was eventually published, was for, quote, all customers of Verizon, close quote. That's 113 million people. Not a single one of whom was identified in the warrant. Not a single one of whom did the government have any evidence against or suspicion about.
Well, Judge, clearly this is another one of these stories that is put out there to try to damage the Trump administration now that they are in power. However, if the FBI was looking at this guy last year, if he had done anything wrong, he'd already be arrested.
I would think we would know about it. So why has this been leaked?
Right.
To influence the President of the United States.